So we're going to do a lesson on sine and cosine graphs. So determine the equation of the midline. So the midline, just to remind you, is middle, right? It's the middle of the line, right? So this is the graph. We have the graph over here. So what we're literally looking for is we're looking for the middle of that. So if I look over here, it's right? So I cut the graph and I go like this. I draw a line here. This is the midline, right? And I can prove that because up is 1, 2, and down from the midline is 1, 2. Right? Midline. There you go. So it says determine the equation. So here's the equation. All right? The equation is y equals, and you just look at this number right here. In this case, it happens to be -1. So y equals -1 is the answer for the midline. That's it. Let's do another one just to make sure. So this one right here, we're going to look for the amplitude. Before we can find the amplitude or the height, what we want to do is we want to again look for the midline. So let's get our midline. So here's our graph. I'm going to go halfway. And again, I think the midline is -1. Okay. It's not always going to be -1, but in these two examples, they were. And what we're looking for is the height of the graph. The height is always positive. It's always positive. You have to remember that, okay? Always positive. So we're just going to count 1, 2. So the amplitude of this graph is 2. And you can verify that because underneath is also 2. Height is always positive, so the amplitude is 2. That's it. The next one is determine the minimum and maximum value of the following. So all you need to do is take, if it's in the equation, the amplitude is always going to be the number that is in front of the sine or the cosine, and again it's always positive. So if there was a negative sign here, you'd ignore it. So there's the amplitude, and you look for the midline, which in this case is here, right? It's like at the end of the graph of the equation, sorry. So all you do for the amplitude, once you identify the amplitude is 6, color coded, look at that. And the midline is -8, boom, right there, right? Once you identify that, then you just have two formulas. So to find the minimum, you just take the midline, which is -8, right? And you subtract the amplitude, which is 6. So -8 minus 6, you can use your calculator, is -14. So there's your minimum. And then for your maximum, you just do the midline plus the amplitude. MA, MasterCard. That's the ticker, by the way. Anyway, so you go midline, so -8 plus 6, and that's -2. So that's your maximum. So minimum is -14, maximum is -2. Enjoy!